myself, and then we'll talk about the project that I did. I've been a nurse for 36 years. Went back to school in 2010 to finish my bachelor's and then completed on with my master's degree. My first introduction into the virtual learning environment was as a student. And by the time I finished my practicum experience, I was definitely in love. My master's degree is actually in nursing informatics. And when I got an opportunity to come back into the virtual learning environment as an employee to work, I definitely jumped at it. I was excited to be able to do that. Now, as a nurse informaticist, you might say, well, that's a little different kind of a job description, isn't it? It's thinking outside the box, for sure. But when you think of nursing informatics, most people think of electronic health records. Quite honestly, the nursing informatics profession extends much further than that. We have a large role in education. We are playing a very large role in big data development and databases, bringing things together for research. So the electronic health record really is just a beginning for a nurse informaticist role. What you have on the board behind you actually is the newest definition by the American Nurses Association for nursing informatics. What I've highlighted at the bottom kind of explains how this project falls into a nursing informatics realm. NI supports nurses, consumers, patients, and the interprofessional healthcare team and other stakeholders in their decision-making roles and settings to achieve all desired outcomes. As a nursing profession, we were challenged by the Institute of Medicine in 2010 to critically evaluate our practice and identify the challenges that needed to be addressed to improve healthcare. This landmark report has shaped many changes and advances in health education. One of the challenges identified involved technology and its integration in healthcare practice and is a significant building foundation for change. With the incorporation of technology, educators recognize the potential of utilizing simulation and virtual learning environments. VLEs support active, experiential learning, participation, collaboration, and critical thinking. Ideal real-life practicum environments are difficult to find so that we can teach students what they fully need to learn and experience as they go through role changes with their education. So the development of the VLE helps us develop very specific educational components to make their experience more well-rounded. This particular project involved the Master of Science of Nursing students in their practicum component. Master of Science nursing students our education stuff is developed by utilizing high-level standards like the AACN, or the American Association of Colleges of Nursing Master's Essentials. And actually in 2012, informatics was added to the AACN Master's Essentials in Nursing as an essential skill and competency. In researching for this paper, for this project. What I found is, according to Caruth, Browsard, Waldmer, Gauthier, Mixon, is that graduate nursing students begin their graduate education often lacking technological preparedness when beginning the journey in a virtual e-learning environment. These gaps in preparedness include lack of understanding, course delivery, accessing resources remotely, participating in asynchronous course activities, and use of emerging health care technologies. So even though we live in a very technology advanced society, when you think of people with their iPads and their iPhones and that kind of thing, the type of technology that students utilize under an educational environment is somewhat different. So there are some student gaps in relation to understanding the software programming that they're going to utilize in their educational component. How did this project start? Well, usually a project starts with an event. And our particular event was we had a practicum student who completed her practicum, came to her achievement ceremony, but didn't dress for her achievement ceremony because we had set up for gowns and that kind of things. When we tried to talk to her, she would answer to us in basic open chat, but she didn't respond to any private chat or any other higher level education or communication format that we were utilizing. So we were just going to take her to the side, our mentor and I, and get her dressed so that she could utilize the real potential of her achievement ceremony. We got her to come out of the initial crowd, but instead of following us over to the side to do that, she looked like she was a little confused for a few moments, and then she just logged off. So we were all kind of puzzled by that. Here's a student who had gone all the way through the practicum experience, chose to come to her achievement ceremony, but when we tried to help her get dressed appropriately and that kind of thing, chose not to stay. So this started a discussion with the mentors and myself about what happened with this student. Is there something we could have done different? Out of this discussion came the fact that the mentors did identify that some of the students were having some specific issues with their what they call avatar skills. So I came down to the realization that when we say avatar skills, one mentor may mean one thing and another mentor may need another. So we needed something more as a full core definition. I found that we didn't really have a specific checklist for avatar skills. Part of my job within the virtual learning environment is I orient new faculty, and I did have a skills checklist for them. So with the mentors, we took that initial checklist and we turned around and we edited it down to look at for students. Now, if we're looking at students having difficulty with avatar skills, we need to also look at all the reasons that they could have issues. This is an electronic environment. Connectivity issues are very common. Many students don't have higher level laptops, some other kind of things like that. Or depending on where they live, they may have trouble with internet access. Students' general lack of knowledge of how to do the skills. Now, we have a 2-day orientation that the students go through. But it's still a quick time, and there's a lot of information for them to learn. So they're giving a lot of information, and to be able to take it in and be able to utilize it is another component. One thing that I knew from myself as a student, the students' lack of understanding the role that the skills played in their practicum experience. Many students come in what they feel like is a gaming environment, and they don't understand, how does this impact my education? What am I doing here? And the last issue is basic computer skills and information literacy related to specifically to the software utilization or the programming that we're utilizing inside the virtual learning environment. Virtual Practicum Skills Project. This particular project enhances the students' basic informatics skills, facilitates use of an avatar as a professional representative of self, supports the utilization of activities available to achieve practicum outcomes in a master's degree of nursing program. This particular project participants were 18 practicum students from 3 master's degree tracks, nursing informatics, executive track, and educator track, during an 8-week course. In developing the Practicum Skills student checklist for competency, I wanted to make sure that we included pre-brief and debrief. I wanted students to understand that that pre-brief information that they're given before they come into their virtual practicum is very important. It supports their overall success as coming in as a student in their practicum environment. And I discussed the different skills with the mentors, and these are what we came up with. Not only just basic movements and landmarking, but several opportunities or several ways to communicate with one another. Speak in voice, IM to text, text to chat, add a friend. I wanted the students to be cognizant of the several ways that they could communicate with other students, with their mentors, with other people that they came across in the virtual learning environment. So I took this skills checklist and then turned around and I made a full table. I wanted to detail out the skills and correlate them. I wanted to correlate them with the virtual learning environment outcomes, with quality and safety education in nursing, and AACN Master's Essentials. Any project that is worth doing, I think, needs to be developed under full evidence-based practice. One of the first components I wanted them to understand was that their avatar was a professional representative of self. That we wanted for them in this practicum experience to begin to develop the transition for role from that point of care nurse or what other position that they were in nursing in healthcare to that master degree level to try on the role in a full physical environment. And the avatar allows them to do that very nicely. Part of that component is the fact that we want them to change their avatar clothes into a professional looking type clothing. We want them to actually wear the mantle of stepping into this role in this field and in this practicum. This is the table we were discussing that I developed so that I could make sure that I covered all essential skills. So basic nursing informatics skills is not just turning on your computer and working with your mouse and that kind of thing. It is that, but it's much more. When you look at the learning curve for what is out there with technology today, for the different software programs that are out there, there is a knowledge deficit that does relate back to basic computer skills related to the programming that you're utilizing. So the students had a knowledge deficit of the shortcuts and the submenus and that kind of thing in the particular programming that they were utilizing in their practicum coordination. So this is the knowledge deficit that I wanted to work to change for them. I also utilized this particular project as a time to ask students, how were they doing? What did they feel about the virtual learning environment? Were they having any anxiety? Were there any specific issues that we needed to know about? This was very nice and forthcoming. Yes, several students did admit to having some anxiety. These particular group of students brought out to our attention that many students were having issues with time zone conversion, and that before this we had not actually given them any kind of programming or anything in detail that educated them about time zone conversion. And of course that was important because there are meetings within the practicum were at different times in different places. Also brought out to them the importance of being able to communicate with other students and mentors, because in this environment there was a strong collaboration. Students worked together in teams, they worked together in groups, they visited with other tracks to work in scenarios and some other things for educational component related to the practicum, and they needed to be able to utilize their avatar effectively in order to be able to learn in these other different components of the practicum. In doing most of any projects or research in this day and time, a lot of times we don't get back the feedback that we would like. Only 10 out of 18 did the additional session. But I did teach a full mixed level of teaching, from minimal with most students to reteaching all skills actually with some students. 4 students specifically discussed anxiety. The other way we got feedback specifically for this particular project was through debrief. And in verbally debriefing the students about this project and other things within their practicum experience, what we did note was that a very strong or positive experience for a good majority of the students that heretofore had not been made known. So when the mentors and I met after this particular project to review it and discuss it, we decided to go ahead and continue it. So on week 2 of these practicum students, I set aside lots of times and meet with students, and we review their avatar skills. We make sure they feel comfortable changing their clothes on their avatar. I help them to understand what they're doing with an avatar and how it relates to their course outcomes or the goals of their practicum experience. I'm teaching them how to do submenu usage in this particular programming, but I'm also teaching them where to go look at within this programming or other programming informational areas that teach them about the particular software program that they're utilizing. That it's important that they have a spirit of inquiry when it comes to technology, that they open submenus and try them and take a look at them and understand how they can benefit or can be utilized within their particular program, whether it's a program of study, this particular thing, whether it's a software program that they're looking at something at work. I wanted to teach them that it's important for them to make sure that they step up and look at the different things and try them out and see what they bring to them, what value that they've got. I also encourage the students that when they get to a point that they understand something very well, we'll continue back in the regular premise of nursing. See one, do one, teach one. Support the other students. If they find another student that's having issues with something and they know comfortably how to do it, then to go ahead and teach them what they know, and then to go ahead and connect back with me if they needed further education. I've also just made myself as a visible avatar for most of the time for the students. And we found with doing that, if they don't make an appointment with me for a time to work together on skills, they will stop me here and there and say, hey, I'm having an issue with such and such. And so we can sit down and work it out then, or we can set an appointment later on. Being visible in there and for them to know that I'm there to help has made a big difference for the students in their comfort zone and what they are achieving actually within the practicum experience. As we looked at the full project, these are the things that we came up with as issues. Goals and expectations of the students in their virtual practicum need to be clearly communicated at the beginning of their practicum experience to facilitate maximum benefit in the virtual learning environment. This is what we have definitely proven through this, because the students have participated more, they've done more, they've had much more enjoyable experience since we have increased their actual education, connecting everything from the beginning. Practicum students could benefit from additional support and skill information. Basic nursing informatic competencies is still a skill that needs to be supported. And it is important to meet each student at their knowledge level and support their acquisition of the tools that they need to succeed. So I'm not saying that every nursing student or every student that comes into a virtual learning environment has a basic nursing informatic competency deficit or knowledge deficit. What I'm saying is that we need to meet our students where they are with their informatics skills, with their technology skills, and we need to facilitate them getting what they need to achieve. I believe in nursing or in any other profession, if we want to facilitate change, then we have to do something more than what we've done in the past. Meeting students individually is not always a reasonable thing to do, but I think that it's actually much more easier to do in an online environment, and especially in the virtual learning environment. Usually we have smaller numbers of students in this particular thing, and because communication can flow much more easier between students to mentors to educators to support staff, they have a communication avenue now through emails and that type of thing. So it's important that we encourage students to utilize those communication pathways to build their skills to develop what they need to succeed. My last slide shows that wonderful circle of knowledge that just keeps building upon itself. Nursing our students embracing technology, informatics, which is teaching them how to take and utilize that technology and information effectively, increasing their education through higher level degrees, promoting difference and change in healthcare. It's this never-ending cycle or circle that will promote change and things to be better. I want to thank you for listening to me. I'm going to just see if anybody had any specific questions for me. Oh, thank you. That's a good question. Yes. Okay. The question, I don't know if everybody's reading or not, but it's, do I think anything in my program other than the content is specific to nursing students? Yes, I would have to say yes. And you have to understand that, of course, now I'm a very technology-driven person because I'm a nurse informaticist. But what nursing students or students would learn in general, coming in interacting with different software programs and that kind of thing, facilitates their knowledge. So what we have is we have nurses that come into us from all areas. We have younger nursing students who have been technology savvy pretty much their whole life, okay? They've had iPhones, they've had iPads, whatever. What you also have in nursing is you still have a baby boomer group. This particular group is the group that I come from, actually, as far as that goes. And then when it came down to technology and computer skills, I learned what I had to learn to be able to do my job in nursing before I decided that it was just time for me to go back to school. Time for me to embrace the change that was going on. So I feel like the technology within itself is a wonderful thing for the nursing students. I also encourage my students when they come in to look at our virtual learning environment and think about what it would do. What could we do with this? What could we do with this for students? What could we do with this for patients? I'd like to get people thinking more outside of the box, getting more ideas and stuff flowing. I want nurses to get out of their mindset that technology is just what I want to learn just to get by, okay? But that they can learn enough additional to make a difference, actually, in healthcare. So I try to connect some of what we're doing to their imagination. Within our particular virtual learning environment, we have nurses that do projects. And we're able to do 3D representations of those projects. And so that's pretty exciting to have a nurse to be able to say, hey, I'd like to see this idea and actually get to see some of what it would look like in the real world. And if we could do it, then how it would interact within the real world. So it's that kind of knowledge that they get from the experience within the virtual learning environment, I think that stimulates them to open up and take what they've learned, more than just the content of their practicum within itself, but to take a knowledge of technology and the possibilities back into healthcare.